So just the champions of the past 2 years, John, Kerry and Tyrone. How do you see them going this year?
Huge question marks over Tyrone. I mean, that McKenna Cup final last weekend when Derry absolutely with them. I mean, I don't know what's going on in Tyrone. I mean, certainly it would appear that it's not a happy camp. I'm not suggesting that is the situation, but when you look at it from the outside, and I don't know what's going on up there, but Tyrone certainly, I won't say we're in free fall, but they have major issues. And that McKenna Cup final and that result in particular certainly has put the spotlight on Derry. Derry, without the Watty Graham players, and when they bring back, Conor Glass and Bradley and a few of those guys, you can only imagine this could be a really exciting year for Derry. Tyrone, to me, not quite sure what's happening there. They look very vulnerable. Kerry, we mentioned it earlier. I don't know, have they one defender from the All Ireland final winning team? The two Cliffords obviously needed serious rest for a month or two. So, as you mentioned earlier on, I think Kerry will just amble their way through this league, survive in Division 1, and have a real go again at the Championship. But another team to look forward to is Dublin. You would imagine that they should canter their way through a Division 2 success, and they're certainly a team, particularly if they get Paul Mannion back fit, which is looking likely. If they can manage to keep him fit, and the likes of Jack McCaffrey to be added to their squad, you'd expect that the Dubs will come with a big run. And it'll be interesting to see Pat Gilroy. I see he's taken over the Vincent Hurlis, just been announced this week, but he's obviously there as an advisor into the Dublin camp. That's a huge boost for them as well, because I think he's highly regarded and highly respected. He's the one that really started off the whole thing back in 1995 with the Dubs. So yeah, interesting times. Tyrone, as I said, don't know what's happening there, but certainly question marks.
Just on Dublin, John, it looks like they're throwing the kitchen sink at trying to get their hands back on Sam Maguire, doesn't it? By all accounts, Mannion back, McCaffrey back. Like, God only knows about the time that went into getting them back, because I'm sure it wasn't as quick as just making a call. I'm sure maybe James McCarthy or some of the elder statesmen had to, maybe even meet the lads, and then getting Pat Gilroy involved, which from a manager's point of view, from Dessie Farrell's point of view, that's quite a big departure, because you're bringing back, someone who's won an All-Ireland in an advisory capacity. It's a sign maybe that Dessie is willing to take, any advice, any bit of nuggets of information that could be gleaned, but it does look like the kitchen sink has been turfed at it.
There's no question about it. I mean, and they will look last year's Kerry team that won that All-Ireland. And Kerry, there was a vulnerability about Kerry coming down the home stretch last year, and Dublin will. I won't say that they look back with regret, but I would imagine what you've just said there, Michael, is absolutely true. I think the Dubs will be a big force, and Pat Gilroy's addition, whatever about Jack McCaffrey and Paul Mannion, Dublin have a huge amount of resources available to them, player resources, but having Pat Gilroy involved, and fair play to the Dublin management for getting him involved, because to have a guy with that experience and guile and know-how, and he's just a very intelligent, clever man, and you would imagine that that's a huge coup for the Dubs. But yeah, the Dubs to me would certainly be a number one team to go and land this All-Ireland title. But as I said, it's not an exact science, but certainly they're headed in the right direction.
And that's quite something that a Division 2 team would be the All-Ireland kind of elect. And I would agree with you as well, because Conor Callaghan obviously didn't play last year in the semi-final leader against Kerry. So that will change things massively. A couple of your neighbouring counties then. What's the mood like with regard to Roscommon? Like Davy Burke, we had him on the show an awful lot last year, seems to just know the game inside out. But what are your thoughts on Roscommon?
Yeah, I felt I'm watching them in the dome there. I watched that game. It was on TV or it was on streamed or something, and I watched it. And I have to say, I wasn't impressed. I think Davy came under a little bit of stress and pressure after the game because of the ultra defensive style they played. I think their goalkeeper had more possessions than 10 or 11 of his outfield players, because they really did play a very lateral game, a very defensive style of game, and they could have beaten Mayo. I think they had 13 wides in that FBD encounter. I'm not sure they're going to be a big force. I think the Roscommon boys probably are in a little bit in decline. I think that's a consensus that they have peaked and plateaued, and there's a little bit of a decline coming. And whether it's a tough job for Davy, I just feel had he been there maybe a couple of years ago, there was a bit more excitement to the Roscommon threat right now. I just don't see it. The Murtals and all these boys, the Smiths, just appear to maybe have played their best football. But again, time will tell.
Yeah, sounds like we're not expecting a classic between Roscommon and Tyrone this weekend then.
I wouldn't no, it's not one I'd be racing to watch for sure. But you'd expect that Tyrone, despite the issues that we perceive they may have, and despite that ugly encounter that took place, or that McKenna Cup final, that was a huge disappointment for Tyrone, because I know when they go out to play a McKenna Cup final, they're going out to win it. And the other thing I've noticed in these competitions, pre-season competitions and the FBT, I know Mayo, for argument's sake, were playing 2 matches, that have an A and a B or a mix, and maybe Tyrone might have, I don't know what their team, I didn't see their team selection in that McKenna Cup final, but they might be training exceptionally hard behind the scenes, getting ready for National League and trying, so we can't read a whole lot into these pre-season competitions. As I say, Mayo played Westmeath up in, I think, in Westmeath venue there a couple of weeks ago, and that evening they had another 15 out against Galway from that weekend. So just we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes, but I do know Mayo have a lot of pre-season work done, a lot of fitness work, and that's another thing. I know in Mayo, if a young fella, I know a lot of the young fellas here from Castlebar in particular, who'll be contemporaries of my son. When they got the call up to get into the squad last September, October, they burst their gut. They were into little pockets of training groups and what have you, and they started straight away. Young fellas are just mad keen to put on a Mayo jersey. That's not the situation at every level. Down to the lower divisions, you won't get that. But I do know, having seen the transformation in a couple of months of some of the young lads that I would be familiar with watching the club football here, just to see the strength and condition work that they had done in a couple of months, and they had transformed themselves. So, yeah, it's a lot of good, positive work happening here in Mayo. Might take a little bit of time.
And Donegal, then, they're at home to Kerry this weekend, but they have a lot of injuries. We talked about Kerry missing lots of players, but Shane O'Donnell, he's opted out at the moment. Ethan O'Donnell has gone travelling. There's doubts over Sean Patton. He's a guard down in Sligo. Then you have injuries to Oisin Gallen, Michael Langan, Kieran Thompson as well. So it's not particularly easy for the new management there.
And Michael Murphy.
Of course.
Gone. When you talk about the Lee Keegans, you talk about the big the big players who have influenced the game the last number of years. Michael Murphy, number one. What an amazing guy. And funny enough, his dad is from out the road here in Ballyconlon. He was we could have had him down here if the father had got a transfer down to Mayo back in the day. But no, again, a new management, pressure in Donegal. A team that would appear to be in decline. Lots of their top players have just gone that little bit older, and I just don't feel there's another bit of push in Donegal right now. When you look up north, you look at Ulster, you look at Derry and Armagh, and obviously Tyrone have got to be included. And I just think Donegal has slipped down below their level right now. And there's teams coming with momentum. Donegal are not one of those teams coming with momentum right now.
Just on that, John, it's a real difficult position for Paddy Carr, and it happens in some places. It's a lot to do with timing, I think, isn't it? When you come into a position like that, and all of a sudden, Michael Murphy retires a couple of weeks later, you find it hard to get lads to commit. Like, taking on a job, sometimes timing is nearly everything.
Yeah, and the optics of it, unfortunately, it reflects. On Paddy, and Paddy is a great GM man, has done some wonderful work with club teams all up on the east side of the country. And, as a Donegal man, this is the job he so desired and wanted. And then Michael Murphy retires just a couple of weeks after his appointment. And you just say, that doesn't look well. I feel there was another year in Michael Murphy, maybe coming off the bench. I know he's got his own business, and I know he's head of sport and LIT up there. But notwithstanding that, there's pressure in every gig, and I just feel for Paddy, there's going to be a big question mark over Donegal this year, and if they survive in Division 1, it'll be some achievement. But then again, when it comes to championship, you're always going to have shocks and surprises along the way. But I just don't see it with Donegal right now.